Okay, in this video, we're gonna start creating the connection to the MySQL database. All right. Um, so from here, this is gonna be the root. Well, this is the root in the sandbox. So I'm gonna create a PHP file. This is gonna be my initialization file. So I'm gonna name it init.php. This is going to be the file that's going to store all the variables for MySQL. Meaning it's kind of like the .env file in JavaScript, right? So this would be kind of like, well, it's not kind of, it is. It's going to store the database name, the host, the password, the username, as well as the our base URL. Okay, so let's just get it started. So I'm gonna name it init, and it's just a simple PHP file. It's not a class. So it's gonna be. So we're just gonna define the variables, right? We're just gonna create the variables. So you're gonna use the keyword define. Okay, that's a built-in PHP function. The first one is gonna be host, so we can name it DB, and the name can be anything you like as long as it's unique. DB and a local host. Okay, so we could copy this a few more times. The next one would be DB name, right? If I can spell. And that will be the name of the database, and we name the sandbox. The next one would be the DB user, which is the username, which is root by default because we didn't create a user in MySQL. We just use the default root username. The password, so it would be DB pass. And we gave that password root admin. Okay, and the base URL. Okay, so this will be HTTP colon localhost, and then we gave it port 8080, and then like this. And that's all we need for this file. Okay, so in the next one, we can actually create the actual database class. Then it's gonna create the PDO connection. Okay, so we can name it database. So another database, another PHP file, and we name it database. And the naming scheme for classes is first letter is uppercase, and it's singular. Okay. In which let me just redo that over. There's a in PHP Storm. Where's that delete? I'm just delete you guy. In PHP Storm, there's a function. There's a feature where you can actually just create a class, and it actually add the class name for me. So it actually add the class, and that's cool. Okay, so database. Okay, and there we go. That's our database. I like to keep this up here like that. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a variable that will store our PDO connection, in which we're never gonna access this variable outside of this class. Okay, so it's gonna be dot protected. Okay, oops. So I'm gonna protect it, and then we're gonna call it the PDO. Okay, and then we're gonna create a function that will automatically run once we call this class. So this function will automatically run without anything. We won't have to do anything in our end. So that function is also going to be a protected function, and it's a built-in function. It's called construct. Okay, it doesn't take any parameters, so we can leave this blank. Okay, and now we're going to call this PDO. In order to call a variable within outside of this function, we just have to say this arrow PDO. Okay, and then we're going to assign that to the PHP PDO method or function. So that'll be PDO, and it's not. It's just like this. Okay, and so this is going to be the actual parameters. This is going to be the connection string that we're going to use. So the first one, sometimes, let me see, it doesn't say it here. Why is that? Okay, so I'll just do it manual. What I was saying is sometimes if I just put in like quotes and actually know what information that I'm going to take in, but that'll be later on. We will see when we instantiate it. So this one would be the MySQL. Okay, that's the database we're using, and the host. So this is when we're going to start concatenating things. So we're going to say host equals, right? And then we're going to do dot to concatenate, and then we're going to say dollar $db. I'm sorry, not dollar. We didn't name it dollar, just DB host. There you go. And then we're going to end at that. There's did I end this? End this MySQL dot? Yeah, I did. Okay. So from here, we're going to end that string with the semicolon, and then we're going to say DB name, right? So what's the database name? Equals, and then here we're going to put a dot DB name, right? DB user, right? And DB pass. Okay, and then should we, let me see, 1, 2, yep, we got it. All good. Save it. And that's it for this file for now. We have the connection. So now we can go back to our init file and we can include it, right? So we can then say include, right? And then the database.php. Okay, so we have the file. So we created these two. This is the to store all the database variables, the database, the connection string, not the connection string, but the username, password, and all that variable stuff. And this is the actual connection string to the MySQL database. So we would have to do one more thing. Well, several more. We have to do several things, right? So we can actually test it to see actually if this is being called, right? So let's see. Do we have an index? Let's get rid of this. Right. So the only thing we can do from here, we can actually, I want to, yeah, let's go $DB, okay, equals database, and the database, no, we can't call anything within the database yet. I see the issue. That'd be a good idea once we can, but we can't do so yet. So in order to call that, this database class here, I mean, we could actually insert, do another include, and then include the database. But then what we're gonna have like several several files, classes, and stuff, and we don't want to keep doing that. So what we can do, we can say we want to call that instance, right? And what's going to happen is the instance, it's going to call and it's going to run this, because remember, this is a construct, so it's going to automatically run once we call this, no matter what, right? So so what we could do, we could create another class, and this class is going to be a public class, and it's going to be static because we're going to access this statically. We're going to call it function. Well, it's a function and the name of the function is instance. Okay, and I can't spell correctly. All right, and that's it. Okay, and so we're going to basically say if the instance is null, do this, otherwise do this, right? So it's a simple, so it's basically calling itself, right? So we're going to say self, right? And then the name of the instance. Did I create an instance though? No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. So I would have to create a public um, instance. This is a protected instance. So let me protect it. Self. Okay. Instance. Oh, what I'm doing. Um, you know what? I don't even have to define this yet. I can just call instance, and I'm gonna assign it. I'm gonna say if it's equal equal. So the self instance is this function here. So I'm gonna say and if it's null. Okay. Um, then if it is, I'm gonna say instance equals new self. Okay. And that's it. And these are all highlighted. Even when I try to use this dollar sign, obviously because we don't. And I didn't put this. So it's obvious though because we call this is a static function, right? So we can't just where's these variables? They're supposed to be a variable too, but where is it coming from, right? So we'd have to actually define it. So public static, and then that highlight should go away. There you go. Okay. All right. And then return the instance. Self instance. Okay. So this will allow us to call this function, this instance function, and in turn, this will give us access to the PDO, right? So we will have access to any PDO methods in just by this little code here. Okay. So so we can actually go back into the index.php, and now if we would instantiate it, do a db equals database, and then you see the instance, it automatically appeared. Okay. And then now I'm going to do db prepare. So this prepare is a PDO function, is built-in PDO function. And then we can just run in some. This is some test SQL. Okay. We just want to make sure we can actually see it, right? So star, and then from. And again, we don't have any tables yet, so we're just saying select star from users, even though it doesn't exist. But go ahead and do so anyway, right? So now it's going to run this. Okay. So for the database side now, what we can do inside the what is all this? Why is it all messed up? Okay. So in the database side, we could run a call method. It's another a magic method that's built in PHP. So we could create a public function. What I say? Oh, call. Okay. And it actually take a name and the arguments, but to be more descriptive, I would like to call this a method, right? Because this is going to be the method name of the function method, and just the arguments. So you could just substitute it, just args, right? And we just could dump it. So we could do a var dump, and we're going to do var dump method. Okay. So now if I go to refresh this page, database not found in index. Okay. Let's see what the problem is. Database not found in index. Okay. That's because these are the editor is smart enough to pull these in, but in actuality, we were not actually including the main file. We need to include this baby here, this file. Okay. So we're going to say include init, right? Because it has no idea what the hell database is. Okay, so now I'm going to refresh it. Okay, and now it's saying on call to undefined and the database 10. All right, so it's saying it doesn't like the PDO. Let's see what I did run. Oh, obviously, I'm instantiating. I'm creating a new PDO connection, right? But where this is just basically like an assignment. It's just saying this is equal to this. But if you create a new connection, you need new in front of that. Okay, and now you actually see. Remember what I was trying to do, the quotes, so you can see. Okay, now this is the DSN. This is the username, the password actually appears with the edit with this editor. Okay, so anyways, now if I would do a refresh, oh my gee whiz, no such directory. What's going on here? I think because we actually call in this, and we didn't to test it. We have to put it public for just to test to see what we doing. We're gonna put it back protected because we don't want it to be accessible outside. But okay, so public, and now let's. So it seems something is one of my commands. Let's see. All right. Saying that no file, no such file or directory, and just because I see the issue. That's because we're inside Docker, right? Remember in the Docker Compose, Docker is kind of like, you got to be careful. We can't refer, we can't where is it in it? We can't call the database host localhost, right? We have to name it whatever we named it in the compose Docker Compose, which is the container name as well as the service. So we got to name it DB, the container name. Okay, so now if we just go back into the here and just name it DB, that's the container, the Docker container name. Okay, refresh, and there we go. Awesome, right? So what's going on? It's actually showing us the method we actually called, right? So that construct is actually, so we call in the instance, and remember whenever we use construct, this is automatically running. So we have access already. We have access to the PDO via this instance. So we just have to do the instance, static, and then we could call it. So if we want to see the arguments that we pass here, if we want to see this, select star from users. Because right now we just ran the, where is that at? Where is that at? Where is that at? Let me close this. So right now we did the DB prepare, and what we did here is we say, okay, var dump the method, which is, this is the PDO method. So we actually see it here, and we see the method. Okay, so now let's see if we want to say we could get the actual query, the SQL query, and that's easy. We could just replace them with the arguments, and that's this guy here. Refresh, and then we see select star from users. So we have access to the PDO methods as well as the queries, the SQL queries. So that's good. So now we can get rid of this var dump. Okay, we're gonna turn everything back to protected because we're done with testing. Let's see. That stays public and this stays public. All right, and get rid of this. Okay, so so now we actually have a connection to the database, and we can prove that by let's change the password. Let's put 00, right? Refresh this. This is not going to display any errors because we're not making a connection to it. We're just including it. But in the next video, what we will do, we'll create a quick connection so we can actually see the errors or success, whatever that comes up. In the next video, we're going to actually make a connection, create a quick mock-up login so we can actually see that we can communicate back to the database. See you soon.